Hello, hello. It is March the 10th. And March the 10th, as everybody has been mentioning, is Mario Day. So what better thing to do than look at some Mario related games in MAME. I'm going to start with a bootleg, because of course you start with a bootleg. This is back in the day arcade bootleg of the Super Mario Brothers, the original Super Mario Brothers arcade version that came out on the Versus system, but it was adapted to run on bootleg hardware with entirely different sound system and things like the PPU DMA missing. As such, it sounds very strange. Sort of off-key. Sounds cancelling each other out. You know, all the kind of things you might expect on a bootleg. No, I don't have any Mario beat 'em ups. Let me just pause and put the volume up slightly there. Hey, Galaxian. It's only going to be a short stream, but thank you for joining, and thank you for joining as well, Combo. But yeah, this one was a Mario bootleg emulated last year, I think it was last year. It's odd. I mean, hardware setup, it uses an additional Z80 and two SN76489 sound chips to sort of emulate the PPU on the APU on the board, rather than having a proper NES sound chip, the APU. So all the sound rights in the main program are the same, but this Z80 and SN setup is intercepting them and sort of converting them to work with the different sound system it's got, which is a really strange way of doing things, and ends up with this very strange sounding version of Mario. Oh yeah, and there's a time note, then I just ran out of time. Yeah, there are going to be some hacks. There are definitely going to be some hacks. Not beat 'em ups as such, but I've got a selection of maybe well-known, maybe obscure related Mario content to look at in the next hour or so. I did want to just start with this bootleg because it was emulated last year. And I find this one interesting because technically if somebody wanted, they could try taking this sound CPU program, you know, the replacement APU program, and using it with other NES games and seeing what the results would be. I mean, I don't know why anybody would really want to do that, but in theory you could create a new NES APU device that, you know, would work with the standard NES driver. Yeah, HB MAME exists for that. If they become popular enough and get used on enough PCBs, then they tend to make their way into MAME eventually, although there's not been much movement in that direction lately. But things like the Outrun enhanced one, because so many people were converting PCBs to run it, that ended up in MAME. And some of Trap's hacks for Ketsuri and stuff were used in Japanese arcades, so they ended up in MAME. But hey Yoga, how you doing? But yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that final fight one, the Mortal Kombat one, might eventually make their way into MAME proper, but I don't know when that will happen. You know, it's a case of reviewing it every now and again and thinking, is it worth it? And hoping that somebody is tracking all the old revisions of it so that when it does get added, you know, we can have the full development history of it supported and everything else. It's not an easy call, always. I have said in the past I'd like to see them added, the more significant ones at least, but we can't add every hack because people just start churning out, oh, I changed the colour of Mario's pants, and you know, it starts getting a bit silly. But worthwhile ones that get used in arcade, yeah, especially with the integration of the MES stuff, like probably 5 years ago now, it seems time's flown. I think we are a bit more open to it because obviously a lot of that scene is current development, but for arcades the bar is still set a little bit higher. But yeah, this is a very odd version of Super Mario Brothers that I'm starting with. I was tempted to start with the original Versus System version, but where's the fun in that, eh? But I'm not going to play it for too long because, like I say, this is only a short stream, so I'm going to be moving on fairly quickly. And I want to check out my friend's stream later, so I don't want to be streaming too long over the top of them. So yeah, let's see how it goes. Back at the start now. I was also tempted to do the Blockbuster Speedrun cartridge that has been used in a high score challenge recently, but it's not really much to show on it, is there? It's just Mario and some other games mixed together. with time challenges and coin challenges. But, you know, the Versus System Mario, if you've not played it before, isn't identical to the standard NES version. It is harder in places. So, you know, I'm sure people who can speedrun the original wouldn't have a problem with the Versus System version, although muscle memory might be an issue for them, because, you know, these people are doing frame perfect tricks on Mario Brothers now. It's quite crazy to see if you look at it. It's like, yeah, you're timing things almost sort of sub-frame timing, knowing how the internals of the game work, and managing to do the inputs yourself on a pad. It's very impressive. Yeah, so there is, I think, I don't know if it's 100% mixed lost levels in the original, or there's some bits that change still, but yeah, it's along those lines. I mean, I did want to try and run the FDS Famicom Disk System version of Super Mario 2 in MAME, because I thought it worked, but I tried it just before the stream and I'm just getting a hang after loading it, so maybe the FDS emulations regressed at some point, or it never worked, I don't know. But unfortunately that one isn't on the cards. It's not the one I'm most familiar with, but, you know, it would have been nice, but I'll have to have a look at that later, but couldn't really delay the stream for this. But yeah, in terms of what I was saying about the APU replacement though, I kind of hope somebody does, because it'd be funny just to see how some other games sound with this, if they've really just tuned it to almost work with Mario, or if some other games would sound reasonable. Oh, hey Star Jump, how you doing? Oh, yeah, do you want to call you Scott or Star Jump? I can go with either, it's up to you. And I'll try and remember. Yeah, so this is, I'm going to move on when I die next anyway. And I just died because at the time I think the bootlegs actually lowered the time limit from the original Versus System version 2, and like the Sonic Mega Play with the time limit, it does become a case of you have to keep moving, otherwise, you know, you will run out of time. Alright, Scott, I'll use Scott then. It's easier for me as well if, you know, people are actively called by the usernames they're using, because my memory can be terrible. I'm as bad with people in real life outside of forums and chat. I was just like, forget what people are called all the time. Forget faces all the time, but you know, that's just me, unfortunately. Anyway, that was a bootleg. Now, since you know this MAME is historically known for its arcade stuff, I'm going to jump to what was clearly a Mario-inspired rip-off arcade game, which is the Korean game Hardhead from SunA, which you know, this is SunA, however you want to pronounce them, produced a lot of original pieces of Korean code and heavily protected most of their games, but you know, most of them were not original ideas, and this is a fairly good example of that. I mean, it's got original level design, but as soon as you start playing it, you know, it starts to become obvious that they clearly played a fair bit of Mario before creating this thing. So we'll get there, you see. So, you know, you're just banging your head on things to break the blocks. You're going along. I mean, you fire bubbles in this case rather than, you know, the usual attacks, but... And, yeah, I've not played it in a while, so I'm probably not going to do that well. I don't know the patterns. I'm trying to run like in Mario, and you can't run like in Mario because it does play a bit differently. But you can see it's a sort of Mario-inspired run and jump. The jump arc is terrible. Oh look, you've got all your steps to climb up. I don't know why these seem to be random fingers I'm killing. Oh yeah, and you have to do that jump correctly. Yeah, Alex Kidd itself is quite Mario though, isn't it, wouldn't you say? I mean, that's one thing. I'm not going to play Alex Kidd, but I look at it and I go, this was clearly quite heavily influenced by Mario. It's sort of what they want to do. Although Alex Kidd, I mean, has scrolling in more than just two directions. I think this one's entirely left to right scroll. I'm not doing very well at it. The controls are just horrible though. That's one of the issues with this one. doesn't play nice at all. There, you see, that's just cruel as well. But yeah, this it's maybe pushing the definition of Mario, but when I was looking at arcade games that were just rip-offs, this was probably the closest I could find. Yeah, the little water kick as well, and you kick at the goal. But yeah, you get the height. I think you kick the ball height is the thing instead of jumping to the flagpole. But you know, I mean, there's Bonk as well, but Bonk is less like Mario, I would say. This to me just had a stronger Mario feel. I'm not going to spend too long on it anyway. It's just one I wanted to demonstrate. The sequel to it is even less like Mario. But yeah, it's Mario inspired, I would say. But you know, you could say it's more Alex Kidd. Yes. Oh yeah, don't do that. That's anyway. That's Hardhead. I'm not going to spend too long on that one. So now where do we go? Well, one thing that maybe people aren't aware of, or maybe they are aware of, is that in Russia, this version of Super Mario Bros. Was ported to the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis. Now this is an unofficial port. It was done, as far as I know, by translating the code, you know, instruction by instruction, to actually run it on the Mega Drive hardware. And this was sold commercially in Russia after it had been done. And this is, you know, this is a multi-cart containing this in Battle City, which was also translated. So the music's terrible, but you know, the gameplay is actually fully intact here, unlike, say, the unofficial Super Mario 98 type games that were also widely distributed in China and the like. This is actually a completely faithful in terms of gameplay reproduction of Super Mario on the Mega Drive. So I'm curious to know if anybody's ever actually tried speedrunning this one. You know, as a real thing to be doing rather than just a novelty, seeing if they can beat the official world records or match the official world records for the proper Mario game, you know, the Nintendo version, but playing it on the Mega Drive. Because I think, from what I can tell, the gameplay is all intact, and I think all the levels are there. So to me, it's very, very strange seeing this running on a Mega Drive. Because, you know, if this version had been released back in the day, people would have gone, what? Okay, and the Mega Drive's a 16-bit platform, the Nintendo's the 8-bit. And they're probably going, oh, but, you know, it's not as good as the SNES, because the SNES has Super Mario World. You know, but in terms of being one of the ports, I kind of like this. Obviously, it sounds probably worse than that one we were just playing, the Versus System bootleg. But you can kind of forgive it, or think, you know, maybe somebody could make the sounds a little bit better. I'm going to put there. But since it is a sort of line-by-line port, as far as I know, not going to get that now. It's all there. And I know there have been other recent ports that Nintendo weren't too happy about. The C64 version, I believe, caused quite a lot of trouble. You know, got takedown notices and the like for it. I'm not going to be playing that one because MAME C64 emulation, I don't think ran it properly when I tried it at the time. But it's interesting to see the number of people who have tried to port Mario to different systems and how it's turned out. And this is sort of one of those ports. And it's one that not many people seem to talk about. Maybe it's because, you know, it was the main set in MAME for it is the Russian set. But has anybody in the chat actually played this version on the Mega Drive before? Or tried it on real hardware? I mean, I assume it works because it was sold commercially, but that's not stopped people selling things that don't work before. Obviously, I'm not going for speedrun tactics here, or trying to do well at all even. But yeah, I'll also be looking at the Game & Watch games shortly too. I'll look at the Donkey Kong one as well, because Jumpman is, you know, Jumpman and Mario are an evolution of the same character, really. But yeah, this is definitely one of those curiosities. I didn't know there was one on the PC Engine. I'll have to look at that one up and see if anything came of that one. So yeah, I'll check that one. I'll see if there's a release of that one after the stream. But I wonder if that one was also done by porting the actual code directly, or if it was just an interpretation. Because that's what I like about this one. It's the port of the code. It's like, I'm pretty sure the same technique was used by the Jack-specific Namco units and the like, and the Capcom unit. I think they went over the actual original code line by line and ported it to the new architecture. So, you know, when somebody puts in that amount of effort, it's worth talking about. Ah, 5-in-1 NES. I've not seen that one. I'll have to have a look at that one. Yeah. The Dendy was the Famicom clone, wasn't it? So that's probably just the actual Nintendo version on Nintendo hardware, clone Nintendo hardware. Anyway, that's a brief little look at that one. Right, the next one is not the best port, but it's actually official. What's it called? I could have another look at Mario Roulette. I mean, there's not much to show in Mario Roulette. It's a very limited game, isn't it? But I did briefly put it on stream before, and I might bring it up again. But this one is Super Mario Brothers Special for the X1 Turbo, or the X1. Now, it runs slow. I don't know if it's actually meant to be this slow, but you have to overclock the machine to get it to run any faster. But yeah, it's quite well known, this one, I'd say, at this point. In part because it's so slow, and in part because it's an official port that, you know, was licensed. But it's also flip screen like a lot of old 8-bit games, or, you know, home computer games. It's not the most playable version of Mario, I will say that much. But it is Mario. But like all these flip screen games, you never quite know what's coming on the next screen, and you can end up killed without standing a chance of getting out of the way. Also, Mario's momentum and the frame rate you've got going on here do not mix at all. But I've not played Gianna Sisters on live stream. I'm not sure how it runs in any of the main drivers. I've never tried it, actually. I mean, and it's primarily, I know it's primarily a C64 game, isn't it? And it's not one of the platforms I'm too familiar with the driver and how it runs. So I'm going to have to research a bit more C64 at some point. I think performance is okay if you've not got the disk drive connected, but the actual driver compatibility is a little hit and miss still. I mean, it really needs an expert in the platform to have a look at it, I think. Like many things in MAME, really. There are a lot of drivers just waiting for somebody with a real passion about the platforms and the technical ability to come along and improve them. Running straight into things. It's bullet hell shooters all over again. I got my jump and run mixed up. Yeah. What was that? Yeah, Gianna, I'm gonna have to check it out off stream and see if it runs in the drivers. It might not. God, this is bad. The speed of this and the laggy controls make it so much more difficult to play than you'd actually expect. I mean, look, I failed to get anywhere in it. But yeah, I know I was looking at some Amstrad CPC stuff outside of MAME and in MAME the other day too, because Manshovel, who dropped by the chat here the other day, was recommending an Amstrad stream Super Edge Grinder, which is actually a really good shoot 'em up on the Amstrad from I think 2012, but it uses the smooth scrolling technique of adjusting the pulse width and the screen controller mid-frame, and in MAME that doesn't actually cause smooth scrolling, it just causes ridiculous amounts of jitter and everything on the scrolling. So again, it's another one of those where somebody who really has a passion about the system is going to have to try and improve it at some point if we're going to run things that are using the newer techniques or the more advanced techniques, which is a shame, but you know, you can't just learn it all, learn everything about everything. It does take people. The delay on the controls is so bad on this version of the game. It's almost like running is a death sentence. Okay, this is, you know, this is why the Super Mario Brothers special on the Sharp X1 I think is not considered that great. Maybe if I overclock the CPU, it will be more playable. I mean, I might actually try that. I'm just this is an experiment. Is it more playable if I overclock the CPU? I have not found this out before. Slider controls, not cheats. Is this just going to stop it loading? See, it's probably a lot more playable now. But I don't know. I mean, surely if I'm having to overclock the CPU, it wouldn't have ran this fast on the original system. It's still really difficult to play, actually, but it's marginally more playable. I will be moving on shortly. But yeah, this doesn't paint the X1 in the best light. The X1's got plenty of good games, actually, but you wouldn't have thought, you wouldn't think it from seeing this one. Yeah, I mean, even with the CPU speed doubled, it's more playable, but it's still not a pleasurable experience. The physics is all off on the movement. But it's surprising. Or maybe it's not surprising. But at least, you know, at least now I can probably finish the first level. Maybe. Yeah, you see. Obviously it's special, so the level layout is a bit different. I've fallen straight into it. There we go, this should be it. And there you go, an actual level completed on the X1 version. And the actual end jingle there doesn't sound too bad. But I will not be continuing to play this. Oh. So there you go. Yeah, I'll put Mario Roulette on. I mean, it's only going to take a minute or two, isn't it? Because there's no content. Mario Roulette. I think I've said everything last time this gun came up. It's a kid's gambling machine that was released in Japan under license from Nintendo, done by Konami, on the same Konami hardware as many other gambling games. And you just insert a coin, and you press the button twice, and in this case, you know, I got all Bowsers, I lose. Insert another coin, I press jump, I don't win anything. And you'd give a kid money, and they would just do this, presumably while you got on with something else. Yeah, there were a few visual improvements after the initial video I made, I think. But there's still nothing to the game at all. Oh look, I won something. I won 6 coins. And the fact it says coins has also been pointed out, because a lot of these Japanese games that didn't use money will say medals. So it looks like this one actually took coins, you know, real coins. Which, again, is really difficult to understand. I mean, why would you target a game at kids? It's a gambling game. Why would anybody think it's okay? But this is what it is, and this is all you do. And, you know, to this day, I've never got the Princess Peach jackpot. Yeah, it's... Most of the time you just get the Bowsers. I mean, I think there's a percentage output. So 90% a payout, so I don't know. Maybe if you set the payout to lower, you'll get more losses, but then the jackpot more often. Sometimes they work like that. But yeah, I mean, there's not much to show here, is there? You can only insert one coin at a time as well, as far as I know. There we go, I won something. I won 9 coins. Actually, maybe you can insert more than one coin then. Maybe. I don't know. That doesn't do much. But there we go. I lost again. Anyway, that's Mario Roulette. There's not much to show for Mario Roulette. It's a very silly kids gambling game. And that still sounds like a... That feels like such a wrong thing to be saying, but it's a kids gambling game. Right. Okay. Let's change the view a little bit. And have a look at... one that's maybe not emulated the best in MAME, but one that is playable. And that is the Virtual Boy and Mario Clash. The sound is a bit crackly. I think this might be a bug being introduced when the sound code was refactored a few months back, because I don't remember it being crackly, but it is a bit crackly now, so I've turned the sound quite low, maybe a bit too low. But yeah, this is Mario Clash for the ill-fated Virtual Boy, which I think is actually quite a good game. I'm going to say that. I mean, obviously, it's the original unit's almost unbearable with the red screen, and you get all sorts of headaches. But you know, in terms of being a game that is faithful to the Mario formula, the original Mario Brothers, not the Super Mario Brothers. This is a perfectly good game. Right. So yeah, I mean, you're collecting the turtle shells and then you throw it at the enemies. There you go. You see. Yeah, I think the sound needs revisiting. I think it sounded better before. I imagine the buffer's not being cleared properly or something. But, you know, if you play Mario Brothers, the idea is to clear each stage of the enemies. This game, the idea is to clear each stage of the enemies and not get jumped on like that. But yeah. Yeah, the Virtual Boy. I mean, you can see why it failed, but it's not a bad system. I think it's lacking some power. People who tried to do homebrew on it found quite a lot of limits, I think, in terms of what it can do. But that's, you know, if you try and enable too many rotation layers or something, it just gets really slow. But I don't know the details really. Don't do that. Yeah. I mean, not every idea works out, does it? You've got to try some things, and you know, some of them do work out, some of them don't. You can't jump on them, no. I've forgotten how you kill these enemies. That's how bad I am at this game. But, it's been a while since I played this. Now, I'm showing both screens at the moment because the sprites are slightly offset in each screen, which is how the 3D effect was achieved. Because you know, you're seeing it slightly offset to the left or right on either screen to give, and that gives the position. You see it in your when you've got both when you've got the glasses on. It's a simple way to do 3D. Yeah, you know, not all the Virtual Boy games are playable in MAME. The Tetris one's got no pieces, I seem to recall, because when I tried to do a Tetris special, I found it to be unplayable. Again, probably needs somebody to have a little look at it. It's not been looked at for a long time now. I'm sure none of the problems are actually too difficult to fix. And the CPU, I think it's the same one that's used for the PCFX, which also doesn't run. So, if there are CPU bugs, it's one of those things where progress tends to go together, I would say, in terms of if the CPU needs improvements. But we'll see. I'm sure there's plenty of low-hanging fruit though with it. I think these sound issues, I bet somebody could fix those really easily. But, you know, it's a case of one of the reasons I do these streams is, you know, so that people can see these things and maybe think, oh, I could fix that, and have a look at them. Because there's always things you can do to help MAME. I mean, with all the recent Nintendo leaks, I'm quite surprised that these haven't shown up yet. So, hey, Mr. Drone, how you doing? Sorry, be right back. Sorry about that, just had to let the cat out. I forgot I closed the door and he was asking to be let out. So yeah, where was I? I was hanging up here on a rope and getting killed. So yeah, on this one, because it's a 3D one, that's what I remember now, you're throwing the turtles between the different planes, so you can only attack those ones from the side because they're protected from the front and back. Anyway. So, how you doing anyway, Mr. Drone? You been good? You got any more games to recommend? I did play a bit more of that, the NES one you recommended the other day off stream. Still enjoying it, got a little bit further, you know, got past the second level this time. Yeah, I'm glad to have found that one. But yeah, this was Mario Clash. I didn't get very far, but that's because I forgot how to play the third level until it clicked again. So, right, let's switch to this, back to this view, and fire up Game & Watch Mario Brothers. Now this is one of the, you know, the classic Game & Watch ones, really, isn't it? One that requires good coordination. You've got to keep an eye on both sides of the screen at once, and you've got to pass the crates up a level at a time without missing any of them. Starts off easy, gets difficult very, very quickly, like, you know, most Game & Watch games, really. But, you've got two sets of up and down. I mean, you can see the unit on the screen, so you can see the controls. It's one of the reasons I like the artwork, is because, you know, you get an idea of exactly what the thing looked like, and so you can see what the challenge was. But yeah, you've got to keep your eye in about 3 different places at once. So you've got to keep them on the eye of the new boxes arriving, and both the, you know, both the columns. It did seem to be quite difficult, but I don't know. I say I'm quite bad at most games, so it's very. I'm not always sure if something's difficult or if it's just me. One of the things I do find very tricky when playing Game & Watch games is doing absolutely anything else. It makes me wonder how, when we had all these games on the school playground, how anybody managed to play them with friends around, talking to them all the time, and asking to see the screen, and asking this and asking that. I don't remember them failing at the games all the time. I mean, I remember them being quite good at them and managing to finish them. But yeah, I'm just wondering how. Because you seem to need absolute concentration to get anywhere in them. Maybe that's just me finding this trickier than most people would. But still, they're classic games. Oh, I've got a full load there, and oh, missed one up there. Of course I did. Well, I will not feel too bad about my performance on that game then. I mean, I did find level 2 tricky enough anyway. As you saw on stream, I was dying quite frequently on that one. At least it gives you passwords. I mean, that's one of the good things about that game. There we go, the truck's full now. So we're going. Very overloaded truck, isn't it? Have a little breather, have a little break. The animations are cute here. Get back to work. Yep. Okay, boss. Going back to work now. But, people never seem to remember what this one was called. I've heard people call it Bottle Factory, when it's actually just called Mario Brothers. I don't remember it officially being called Bottle Factory at any point. Although it is a bottle factory. Maybe it would have been better to be called Bottle Factory, or the boss is really angry at you because you smash all the bottles factory. Which is how it usually goes. And they're just in time, just in time. It is one of those that lets you know the final frame of it falling is the frame you can grab it. But if you don't grab it, that happens. That is a good point. I didn't put the Game Boy Color versions on my list. I should have done. When I do a handheld stream, a proper handheld stream again, I need to remember to do those, because you're right, those are really cute remakes. But yeah, this was Mario Brothers. Shall we have a look at Donkey Kong Game & Watch 2 while we're on Game & Watches? I think we should. I mean, it's not technically Mario, but it's... it is, yeah, sorry, that is correct. It's still Mario, isn't it? It's Jumpman. Now this one's actually got quite laggy controls compared to most of the others. Some of the early games do. It's like they only read the controls when they update to something like that, rather than more frequently. Oh dear, and I forgot, I'm really bad at this one. You have to remember to press the button to spawn at the right time too, otherwise that will get you. No, get out of the way. So pull the handle, then jump at the right time. It's all about timing of the jump at the top as well on this one. Most of my lives go because I missed the hook. And this is one that most people seem to have if they had a Game & Watch collection back in the day. This was one of the super popular... Well, this is just Mario jumps off a building simulator, isn't it? That's what this one's turned into. Not sure what message that's sending. But yes. You climb to the top of a building site and jump off its simulator Game & Watch. I don't know. And I forgot to jump. In this case, don't jump off it, just fall off it. Because if you just press right without jumping, you would just face plant the ground. Well done, Mario. Well done. But it's impressive that they've managed to come up with a game that's not really that like Donkey Kong, but at the same time is obviously Donkey Kong. I mean, there's no switch to pull at the top of a Donkey Kong stage, but here it fits and it works. There we go. I've actually managed to, you know, get one of them. It's got the bells, it's got the girders. It's Donkey Kong. In fact, if anything, it's a more complex game in some senses with the timing than the original Donkey Kong. It would be quite nice to see this jump section at the top of a Donkey Kong stage. Oh dear. Yeah, the DS is very inspired by these. I mean, I think Nintendo officially acknowledged that, didn't they? That, you know, the DS is inspired by these dual screen, these Game & Watch ones that look like this. It was the design they were going for. And it's a design that for certain types of game does work really well. It's also a game, you know, games that aren't designed for it don't. Ones that are a complete waste of the second screen or just feel really awkward because they're being forced to use two screens. It would have been nice to get somewhere in this game, but that does not appear to be happening. Anyway, again, a handheld stream, I will probably look at that one a bit more. I should play the original Mario Brothers, shouldn't I? I should. Actually, no, let's play Bootleg, which has got normal sound. Masao. Because why not? Oh, horizontal, let's put my borders on. There we go. Now, I believe this bootleg crashes when you reach a certain stage because of changes in the code. I can't remember the exact details, but it used to be detailed in the source at least. But there were some bugs in it. Actually, no, this has got its own sound too, hasn't it? Yes. Sorry. I thought this was one with the original sounds, but this bootleg has its own slightly odd sound system. But many people would have played bootlegs of Mario back in the day. The original Mario Land, the Game Boy one. I've not played that either. I was going to have a look at the Game Boy Mario Land in a bit, but I've not seen that hack of it. I guess it's another one of those that if you follow the Game Boy scene, you'll have probably heard of, and if you don't follow the scene, it's easy to slip under the radar. I mean, a bit like a lot of the main things I cover on here. If you follow the main scene, you're probably aware of them. If you don't, a lot of them are going to be news. I've noticed so far in terms of response to these videos, a lot of people have been saying things that I thought were obvious they'd never heard of before. So, you know, it's always good to hear that type of thing as well. But, yeah. So, these are some nasty sounds. The power box is there's no point on this stage, except just to get in the way. Right, so let's go. Masao. It's perfect. I mean, I don't understand always the logic behind the renames and the bootlegs. Anybody who sees it knows it's going to be Mario. I don't know if it really keep Nintendo's lawyers off the case or stop them finding out about the game or make sales less suspicious. Oh no, don't go there. Oh, too late. I do have two interesting knockoffs of this to look at afterwards on those handhelds I've been looking at recently, and they're always rather silly. Yeah, the floor animations is one of the things that stands out with this. I mean, it's still in tiles, I think. Is there a time up? I think the floor's animated with tiles. Let's have a look. Actually, maybe it's not. Oh, sorry, I've pressed reset. No, the floor, it must, I've hit reset by mistake. When it does the animation on the floor then, it must actually replace the tiles with sprites temporarily. Yeah, I just messed that up. Oh, and of course the second player here isn't Luigi either. They have renamed him to Corgi. I don't know who Corgi is, or Kogi. Sounds like a dog. Is it a Corgi? But I don't know. That is now Masao and Corgi, or Kogi. The alternate team. But yeah, that's one of the bootlegs. It's a bootleg of the original Mario Brothers. Like I said, I think it crashes later on, but I don't think there's a note in the source about it anymore. There was also this bootleg, Pest Place, on Donkey Kong hardware, but the colour proms aren't dumped, so it looks a bit of a mess still. So I'm not going to play that one. But yeah, that got put onto Donkey Kong hardware for some reason. But yeah, in terms of bad rip-offs, this is one of the handheld devices I've been emulating recently. The HD 360 degree Rocker Palm Eyecare console, 788 in one. It's actually got about 60 games in it, but its mod is not working because there's no sound and other potential issues. But this one's on 100 megahertz Sun Plus, and yeah, somewhere in this. See that? Risk King is a bootleg type thing of Mario Brothers, but we do have Risker. Sorry, I mean, I do need to start looking at the sound emulation on these later Sun Plus systems, but this is just horrible. Your jump goes for as long as you hold it, pretty much, and there's no evolution of the gameplay. You just kill a few of these, and you kill a few more of these, and yeah, the controls are really laggy too. Oh yeah, they do turn green sometimes when they want to go faster, but there we go. And the direction they bounce off when you hit them is one. And you don't even have to kill the ones on the level to advance the level. It's just a certain number. I think you have to kill 3 on the first level, and 4 on the second level, and so on. And yeah, I mean, this is a fairly recent product as well. A little handheld device you can buy with the most ridiculous name ever. It was fun emulating it, but you know, why would anybody actually want to play this? Who is going to not feel disappointed? There are earlier versions of this console where it's still got Mario characters as well, but those aren't dumped. But yeah, this is silly. Clearly ripped the actual some of the graphic parts, or redrawn them maybe more so than ripped, because I think they're slightly changed. But yeah, now if you thought that was bad, that's still not the earliest version of that hardware, and this version's even more fun for certain definitions of fun. This isn't really a monitor, so let's just swap to this display. So if we go down to this one, which I think is still called the same thing in it, if I can find it. Is it in this one? Have I loaded the one without it in? Or have I gone past it? I don't know. Let me have a look. Maybe it's in the other one. Maybe it's in the other unit. Maybe I loaded the wrong unit. These units are all very similar, but contain different games. Is it in this one? Risking is in. Risker, So you see, on the older hardware, which was lower resolution, it's the same game, but it scrolls. And that's how it becomes fun. Because, you know, it scrolls, but you move faster than the scrolling, which means you can fall off the bottom of the screen and come back on the top of the screen. Because apparently that's what happens. It thinks you're wrapped around the screen because the screen doesn't scroll as fast as you can move. And that is entirely That's not by design as such. It's just a case of the sprite will wrap, and then the game logic wraps, and it all just sort of falls apart. Because these games are so badly programmed that, yeah, that happens. But yeah, again, there's no sound emulation on this one. It's different. Yeah, I mean, these things were being sold in, you know, places like Argos, in places like TK Maxx and that type of everything store. And obviously the eBay sellers selling them, and I don't know. They're just obvious knockoffs though. And their original code, they're not original concepts or graphics or well programmed or anything. They're just a mess. I think this was an Argos one. It was in some stores anyway, and you can find these on eBay cheap. And yeah, anyway, that's those things. They've been a fun little novelty to emulate. Let's have a quick look at, obviously, the famous Donkey Kong, the original. So Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong. I think you know Donkey Kong. I really like how it looks in MAME these days. I mean, it's looked like this for a long time now, but you know, the proper slightly pink girders for a long time in the early days of MAME, they were rendered as red because we did not. Well, people said they were meant to be red, but they're not meant to be red. They're meant to be this nice pinky colour. And Mario's red. You know, well, Jumpman's red. And it's just such a nice look. And whenever I see that sort of cheap bootleg arcade cabinets that are still running ancient versions of MAME, where the girders are all red, it just looks so wrong. I don't know how anybody ever thought it was meant to be red. But, you know, the game at the time wasn't that old, but it seems like the feeling that time progressed and time passed and technology advanced was so different sort of 10, 20 years ago than it is now. These days, you know, a game from 14 years ago, people are reluctant to even call it retro. But back at the end of the 90s, a game that was 5 years old could be called retro, and people were sort of starting to not remember what they looked like. But yeah. Now, I played an interesting rip-off of Donkey Kong concepts on a stream a few days ago, which was in the Multi-5. That was called Tong Boy. I'm not going to play that again. But, yeah, the concept of Donkey Kong has been copied a few times by various people. I mean, back in the day, everybody was trying to make their own Donkey Kong clones on the home platforms because it's such a popular game. But the original is a really good game. The emulation's been improved over the years too in more subtle ways. I mean, you know, there's the whole thing with old versions of MAME producing certain glitches when stages start that have been found on some speedrun videos to, you know, prove that those videos can't have been recorded from a PCB, and that's a pretty, you know, damning evidence. But I don't want to go too much into that. But yeah, emulation glitches that are specific to emulation will always be specific to emulation, and there's no way PCBs can reproduce the same glitches because they're due to just how things get implemented on emulators that the PCB would never do. Yeah, Miner 2049 is a good one. That's actually penciled in for maybe one of the other M streams. Because it's an M game. There's the Super Cassette Vision version that I might have a play of on one of the M streams. Anyway, that was Donkey Kong. Since we're doing rip-offs of Mario and Mario-related things, let's have a look at Logger by Century Electronics. Century Electronics, who made Hunchback. You know, Hunchback, the very popular UK 8-bit era arcade game. It's got speech and everything, you know. But, the game is a terrible, terrible, terrible Donkey Kong rip-off. So this is your alternate universe Mario, Jumpman, She goes yup, 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 yup when climbing a ladder. The barrel physics are embarrassing. The collisions are embarrassing. The controls are terrible. Pardon me. There we go, and the bird flies away. And you know, just in case you thought maybe it was coincidence and it was just a platform game that happened to have a similar structure, you know, let's just double down and cop. Oh yeah, the jump's awful. You jump higher than you jump high, not long, and you fall off everything. And you see, oh, in this situation, walks towards a ladder as well, which feels really weird. So, yeah. Jumping over the barrels. This game is just... This shows how bad Donkey Kong could have been. It shows that, you know, it's a simple concept, but it was the execution that really made it such a fantastically memorable game. Now, don't rage quit. Well, you know, just gently quit. Look, is actually an interesting one, because the clone of it is very different. See, this is the clone of Logger, revision 2. Now, it seems similar at the moment, but the first level theme is no longer Donkey Kong. It's still clearly a Donkey Kong rip-off, but it's actually a tree. It actually almost makes more sense being called Logger. I don't know if this version came first. I mean, this is meant to be an older revision, which meant they started with this, then made it look more like Donkey Kong. I honestly don't know. But... oh, it's still terrible though. You still don't want to play it. Well, we're on an hour now. I'm just going to go one last Donkey Kong. Yeah, it looks a bit like Kangaroo, doesn't it? This is the Brazilian Kong. Now, this isn't a bootleg of Donkey Kong. This is an original piece of code, which was apparently done by Taito of Brazil, Taito do Brazil, who seemed to have been a very dodgy entity that used Taito's name, to just make bootlegs. I don't know if there's meant to be a Starfield, because like most Galaxian conversions, it doesn't always make sense. And some people have said there's meant to be speech that's missing, but I don't know. But yeah, this is sort of really, really bad in many ways. Sorry, I'm just going to... let's just go back there again. There we go. So I had to change the sound volume a little bit. In fact, it might be too high now. So I can turn it down in the game now. But anyway, sorry. But what gives it away that this isn't... If you're not looking at the code, what gives it away that this isn't a straight Donkey Kong bootleg of the code? Look how the barrels fall down at the edges of the platforms. They don't roll off the platforms, they just drop straight down. Because this isn't actually using any Donkey Kong code. It might have the graphics ripped, but it is actually an original and really badly programmed knockoff. Yeah, it's Galaxian hardware, so it's going to sound very Galaxian Moon Quest type hardware, so that's why it sounds like that. I mean, quite a few things Taito do Brazil put onto Galaxian style hardware. I mean, there's the whole Galaga rewrite they did fantastic, which again is really strange to see. They did a Time Pilot rip-off. Can't get there. Go away. Oh yeah. Anyway, that's that. That's not well. It's bad. It's not good. Right. So we're on an hour, and this was meant to be a short mini stream of looking at, say, Mario and Donkey Kong related things. So I am going to call it there. I'm probably going to do another proper MAME Ministream one within the next week at least. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not. We'll see. So yeah, I might do mine 2049 on that. I might revisit some of these, but this was just a little sort of one-off Mario thing because it's March the 10th, which is Mario Day. So thank you to everybody who's joined. It's been good to have a chat with you, and I do hope to see you stream soon. Thank you, Scott. I'll see you on Reddit too and everything. So take care, and good night, good evening, depends what time it is where you are. So I'll see you later.